There was an article I came across regarding Creflo Dollar and his request for a private jet. Christian Post recorded this news on their website, and I recommend people taking a look at that particular article for yourself. However, Creflo Dollar's original article was taken down, but his comments have been preserved. There are so many problems regarding Dollar. First of all, why does he need a private plane in order to travel overseas as in a private jet? One can always take an ordinary jet. Second of all, the Apostle, Paul, while he asked for donations, it was to fund the mission of the gospel. Let us turn to 2 Corinthians 11, verses 5 to 11. Quote, I do not think I am the least inferior to those super apostles. I may indeed be untrained as a speaker, but I do have knowledge. I have made this perfectly clear to you in every way. Was it a sin for me to lower myself in order to elevate you by preaching the gospel of God to you free of charge? I robbed other churches by receiving support from them so as to serve you, and when I was with you and needed something, I was not a burden to anyone. For the brothers who came from Macedonia supplied what I needed. I've kept myself from being a burden to you in any way, and will continue to do so. As surely as the truth of Christ is in me, nobody in the regions of Achaia will stop this boasting of mine. Why? Because I do not love you? God knows I do. Unquote. The money that Paul received from other churches may have been used to cover travel expenses and could be read that way. However, it wasn't extravagant travel. Paul did not travel first class on a cruise boat or something of that kind in the ancient world. The money he used was strictly to advance the gospel and take the gospel to other nations. There is a case in the book of Acts where money was laid at the apostles' feet. You will find this in Acts 4:32 to 37 and Acts 5:1-2. Quote, all the believers were one in heart and mind. No one claimed that any of their possessions was their own, but they shared everything they had. With great power the apostles continued to testify to the resurrection of the Lord Jesus, and God's grace was so powerfully at work in them, all that were there were no needy persons among them. For from time to time those who owned land or houses sold them, brought the money from the sales, and put it at the apostles' feet, and it was distributed to anyone who had need. Joseph, a Levite from Cyprus, whom the apostles called Barnabas, which means son of encouragement, sold a field he owned and brought the money and put it at the apostles' feet. Now a man named Ananias, together with his wife Sapphira, also sold a piece of property. With his wife's knowledge, he kept back part of the money for himself, but brought the rest and put it at the apostles' feet. Unquote. The money was also used to assist others and help the needy. Certainly a far cry from using a private jet. That money could be put to better use by helping those less fortunate than you. Money itself isn't evil, but the love of money is, and as we know, the case of the rich ruler who made money his idol. We know what happened in that context, do we not? He went away sad, for he had great wealth. Not to mention Jesus himself stated that one cannot serve two masters. It either has to be God or mammon, not both. Second, here's a principle I have. I don't ask for donations for my website or this account on YouTube, but if I did, they would be to fund getting more material to use for my website, namely theological material, be it a book or a lexicon, etc. If I want to get something that isn't relevant to the ministry, like let's say a movie or a video game or even soundtrack, I'll pay with my money that I earn in my job, not rely on gospel donations to pay for them. I have spent some of my own savings to get theological material, namely John MacArthur's Strange Fire, and of course James White's books, The Forgotten Trinity and the Roman Catholic Controversy. I don't ask for donations, but if I did, as said before, it would be to get theological material for advancement of the gospel, not for my own personal hobbies. This is a disgrace what Creflo Dollar was doing and is doing. You don't need a plane of your own. Just catch one. It's totally extraneous and unwarranted to ask for a private jet just to preach the gospel. Having said that, I hope he doesn't get on a plane ever again to preach, since his heresies, like others, such as Joel Osteen and Joyce Meyer, are a cancer. Plus, like the other word faith preachers, which many can be listed here, Dollar preaches the prosperity gospel, which to be honest is an abomination and is not the gospel at all. For a detailed exposure of the word faith movement, I recommend seeing Keith Thompson's videos, Word of Faith Teachers, Origins and Errors of Their Teaching, and Joel Osteen, Origins and Errors of His Teaching. I also recommend taking a look at a program Michael Horton was on, where he discusses the word faith cultists. These videos should be of great assistance to you. Now, lest anyone accuse me of attacking Dollar for him having a private jet, let me ask you this. Doesn't it seem strange he is not putting more effort into actually delivering a true gospel message, but instead is focusing on prosperity and living in luxury at the expense of actually preaching a God who is sovereign Lord who reigns over you? Not just a God, but the God, Yahweh, who is Lord and sovereign over you. Not to mention, Dollar's false gospel is a cancer, even if his motivation was to give it and share it with others. Now, there are biblical ministries out there that do have honest reasons for asking for a donation, and one thing we need to be careful of is not to falsely accuse people of evil intent. There are cases where I have seen malicious intent ascribed to them simply to discredit them rather than a concern for truth. A television broadcast for preaching the gospel is acceptable, and thus donations can be made to keep it on the air, if it's preaching the biblical gospel, of course. Enabling someone to go on a mission to minister and help spread the gospel via donations is fine too. Creflo Dollar is not teaching a biblical gospel, especially in the light of his adherence to the word faith movement. Thus, his ministry shouldn't be supported in the first place. And second, do I really need to go over that fact about the plane not being needed? Think on this issue, and I thank you for taking the time to watch.